3-1 with Game 5 and their season on the line at home tomorrow night. So let's take a listen to JJ Redick just a few moments ago on what changes need to come in Game 5.
No, and you know what? Looking back now, what have we scored? 19, 20, 13 in the fourth quarter. The trend. More than that. I mean, we missed. Our two best players missed layups at the rim. You know, it's. I don't think they missed layups because they were tired.
Yeah, they probably were tired because JJ Redick only played 5 players in the second half of Sunday's loss. And we're not here to harp on that. It's been well documented, right, Booze? But after hearing from him just a couple of minutes ago here at practice, do you expect him to make a change to his game plan at all?
I mean, we'll see. Maybe he takes a couple minutes off for LeBron in the fourth quarter, maybe a couple minutes off for Luka. But let's be clear. LeBron has been outstanding. He really had a 25-point triple-double the other night. Luka had 38 points or whatever that may be. My thing about JJ is that you looking down the end of the bench, like, who am I putting in?
Right.
You know what I mean? I think he was rocking with the team that he thought was going to get him the win. He pretty much coached it as if it was a must-win, like a Game 7 type of environment. I do think that, you know, his two best players did miss a couple of layups, but LeBron's playing A+ defense, setting everybody up, scoring when he has to score, and we need him to close too. Like, for me personally, I feel like some of the others have to step up a little bit more. I thought Hachimura played great. I thought AR had some really good looks. I thought there was a lot of pressure on Luka as he's bringing the ball up on one, pick and roll, high pick and roll, sometimes isolation ball pretty much the whole fourth quarter. Maybe mix up some of that, but I just feel like he went with the team that he thought that was going to win the game. And moving forward, if some of the other guys can make some shots, if I'm a bench guy, I'm trying to prove to JJ when I do get in the first half that I need more minutes. But you got to figure out a way to extend this series. Those two guys have been playing great.
I think, Booze, to follow up on what you just said, why have some of the role players and the bench players not been able to step up? It's because of the roles and responsibilities of the stars. I mean, these two bench, groups, they're on polar opposite situations right now. One has been completely didn't see the light of day on the court, and the other have been valuable people that have contributed to the game. I'm thinking about the Timberwolves. Look at the big games that we've seen from Nas Reed or Jaden McDaniels, who was another heroic type of performance down the stretch. That's because their star player is breathing life into that, competing on both ends, and obviously trusting his teammates. We started off the year saying, well, Ant, he's shooting a lot of threes. Well, Ant, he's dropping 40, but his team lost. He's gone through it to get to it, and now he's bringing his teammates along. On the other side, for the Los Angeles Lakers, their stars are asked to do things that are, difficult, like LeBron James guarding center. I mean, when I saw that inbounds pass where it was a turnover, I was like, that's slippage that you're seeing right there. Luka Doncic defensively not doing what he needs to do. That's not helping your role players be great on top of it.
But JJ Danny is talking about trends, and them struggling in the fourth quarter, it's not just the fatigue, it's been a trend, because the Lakers have been outscored by 36 points in that frame this postseason. That's the worst of the 16 teams in the playoffs. That's after blowing a 10-point lead going into the fourth in Game 4. They were outscored by 13 in that one game.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the Minnesota Timberwolves bench and how much they've been impact. You got to give these guys an opportunity. You got to find a minute or two for LeBron. It is fatigue.
Yeah.
They're not scoring in the fourth because Luka's tired, LeBron is tired. You got to find them a minute or two. I know you don't have much, but Gabe Vincent can give you a minute or two. Vando can give you a minute or two. Goodwin, you can somehow rotate to not have them all off the floor at the same time, but you can give Bron a minute or two because the fatigue is really hurting them, and their offense is so stagnant. They're having turnovers. It looks one-on-one slow. If Perk was here, you talk about how Luka dribbles the air out of the basketball, pick and roll, and they're playing at a slow pace. They need to find some freshmen, some refreshing time to get their pace back and get their focus and get their legs back to be able to run in the fourth quarter just a little bit.
This is a live look at the Lakers practice as we speak right now. Headband Luka getting some shots up here. But as much as we talk about the adjustments the Lakers need to make, I do want to give their due respect to the Timberwolves here. In 30 seconds, Chene, Anthony Edwards, the questions about the fourth quarter that followed him through the regular season, on the flip side of what we've seen from the Lakers, they have not been there for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, I agree. And even bigger picture than this, a lot of people have wondered in that mega trade that we saw okay, will both teams be better off right now? For the Knicks, looking at Cat helping, trying to close the series, they're looking like that's meant to be for him. And now Julius Randle showing up for the Timberwolves. They're looking like a true team, and that's because they go as Ant Edwards goes. He has been the most impressive. These back-to-back years in the postseason, he has a heck of a resume and stars he's taken down.
Yeah.
One win away from taking down the Lakers, LeBron.
And then he's going to go head-to-head potentially with Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. I mean, Anthony Edwards right now, these are the games and the moments that he lives for. The Lakers and the Timberwolves, they play tomorrow, but there are 3 win-or-go-home games tonight. So, Booz, my question for you is, which of the 3 teams that are down 1-3, they have the best chance at extending their series? We're talking about Orlando, Detroit, or Milwaukee, all in action tonight.
Yeah, I got Detroit. I feel like Detroit was literally the right referee call away from shooting 3 free throws with Tim Hardaway Jr. This series should be 2-2. It's not, but they've been playing the Knicks very well. The Knicks' experience have got them over the hump, obviously, in a missed call, but they're up 3-1 right now. I think Detroit is right there on the brink of getting the victory if they can figure out how to slow down Brunson in clutch time.
Yeah, I'm with Booz here. I think this should be a unanimous decision. Detroit, this should be 2-2, but I see a big night from K tonight. You know, he struggled a little bit in that 4th. I see him refocusing, coming in, and executing those shots. He's going to have 25 plus tonight and probably, 10 assists and 6 or 7 rebounds. So I see a big night.
Absence last night in the Bay Area, and they needed him today. Picking it up in the second quarter here, it was Chippy. Look at Dylan Brooks.
Chippy is an understatement. That's been the theme of the entire series, but guess what? The Golden State Warriors, they accept the challenge. Dylan Brooks is always going to talk.
So he's letting Steph Curry know, that's just one. I only got 1 foul, bro. 1 minute later.
Don't do that.
This is where Steph Curry looks up at Dylan Brooks and says, all right, bro, now you got 2. Brooks did not take kindly to this, Danny Green.
Neither did Draymond. You got into a little bit.
They start a kerfuffle.
Yeah, kerfuffle.
My favorite word. Brooks, Curry, Green all received technical fouls.
And there's the
here.
wink.
And then later in the second, a little bit more drama. Tari Eason doesn't back down from anybody here. Draymond Green
Basically sat on him.
Yeah, you can't put your
Accidental
feet up on
drop kick.
somebody. Eason would be assessed a technical, and Green was given a flagrant, maybe because he already had a technical. The referees are very self-aware.
And then he's just picking his nails like,
Just
okay.
checking those nail beds, making sure
I'm
everything's
glad they
good.
didn't kick him out, though. I'm glad they didn't kick him out.
Absolutely. To the 4th quarter we go. Warriors down 4 minutes left. Green finds a cutting Butler who gets the finish here.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler was huge, especially, you look at the stat sheet, you're like, okay, but playoff Jimmy's in full effect. And again, Buddy Hield, what a day
Buddy.
he had. Right on time.
Right on target. Warriors have 1 minute and a half to play. Golden State have 3 now. Watch Fred VanVleet, the
Steady
veteran.
Freddie.
Finally, the shot
Steady
has
Freddie.
arrived.
Game
He's done.
outside at 1:04
Yeah, 8 of them,
here.
right?
1 minute left, still tied. Butler, foul in
Okay,
the corner.
guys, we're going to have an uncomfortable conversation.
man.
Did that really?
They called that, right?
Yeah, they
Well,
did. Hand on the
didn't
stomach.
make all 3 free throws to take the lead here. And then 13 seconds left. Alperen Şengün drives, but watch Draymond here. Trying to take that little baby hook shot that he loves. Butler with a
Set him up.
huge rebound.
Let him know, Dre.
Here's Draymond Green on that
Fuck the
defensive possession.
He likes the ISO right in the middle of the paint. He started coming downhill. I gave a little ground. And Stack always tells us it's the time that you have to get serious. He said it's time to get serious. And we just try to pick that point.
There's nothing that's as serious like checking your nails game, right? But this has been a drastic difference in Green's defense on Şengün in games 1 versus 2, 3, 4 here. You can see. And then VanVleet, 1 more shot here. It's a good look.
Great look.
Just a little bit short. The Warriors survived to take this game 4. Here's Jimmy Butler after the game.
I thought it was winning time. Doing certain things that the team needed me to do to go out there and help win finally. Started moving a little bit better. And happy to be able to go out there and get people in the gas.
For him to gut through that first half and get the wheels going and then get turned up second half, both ends of the floor. It's why he is who he is and why he means so much to us.
You've shrugged off their fans. Have you felt your restraint from yourself and kind of walking that line?
I'm always walk that line. That's who I am. Habitual line stepper. I'm just playing.
Just like Johnny Cash, walking the line. The Warriors have taken a 3-1 lead for the 12th time in the Kerr era. They finished the deal 10 out of the previous 11 series. The only exception, of course, the 2016 NBA Finals. So Carlos Boozer is joining us now. Booz, the Warriors, they keep finding different ways to
very efficient, 7 for 12. Does a great job of composing as well. He's done a great job just getting himself into this Warrior team. Like, I think you saw the interview after the game was over with Buddy Hield. They have great cohesion. They're playing together. They also believe in each other. Jimmy brings a whole aura to him. He plays great offense, very efficient offensively, but then defensively, he's done a great job on Jalen Green and the other guys. He gives you the belief that they can get the job done. We've seen what he's done with lesser talent, bringing them to the NBA Finals. Now he's playing with a couple of Hall of Fame players in a phenomenal system. He's done a great job. And then think about what he's done with Draymond Green. Draymond Green, 5 personal fouls, 1 flagrant, 1 tech, 1 game-winning defensive stop. It's an outstanding job.
If that doesn't say a Draymond Green game, then I truly do not know what does. The chippiness, of course, he sets the tone, but then he was also said, I know when we need to get serious here. And Steve Kerr, he agrees with you on the Draymond front here, Booze. Remember, Kerr, he's played with Michael Jordan. He's played with Rodman. He's played with Tim Duncan. Keep that in mind when you listen to this high praise that he had for Draymond after this game.
I mean, he's the best defender I've ever seen in my life. He rises to the occasion. On top of being a great defender, he's an incredible competitor. And so anytime, and we've seen it, I've seen it for 11 years, game on the line, Draymond making a stop, it's like having Steph Curry take the shot.
Whoa! You're right, sis. High praise, the greatest defender of all time. Woo child, that was a statement, though, defensively, his performance. Danny, what did you see down the stretch?
I don't know if I agree with Steve on this one. I think he's a little crazy. I've seen the word, I've seen Scottie Pippen.
It's a good
I
crazy,
play with Tim Duncan. I also play with Kawhi Leonard.
It's a good
but
crazy.
There's a reason why he said this about Draymond. His IQ and also his locked-inness. For him to sit for so long at 5 fouls, come in the game, and be able to stop Alperen Sengun, who has 31 points. He knows he's going left. He likes his move going to his left hand. He did it against Quentin Post multiple times. Cuts him off, stands him up, makes him shoot a deep hook from the foul line, which is not a great shot. Alperen Sengun, this is not Quentin Post. You got to make a better move. But this is the type of defense. And then Jimmy Butler comes in flying for a huge defensive rebound, because this is what sealed the game. You'll see Adams inside the paint, boxing this guy out. Jimmy seals the game with the rebound. This is a big stop for Draymond, big stop for the Warriors. Sealed the game.
Yeah, and speaking of which, Draymond shut down Sengun in Game 4, as you mentioned, holding him to 2 for 11 shooting as the primary defender. That's after the Rockets center shot, 50% against Green in the first 3 games of the series. Now, anytime we see games like this from the Warriors, I think of 3 words. Can you guess them?
I can't.
Strength in numbers. Draymond and Jimmy always hold it down, but it was actually the role players that were the real MVPs. Look at these numbers from Pajemski. His game was ill. I mean, literally. He was actually sick and didn't eat for 72 hours. But look at the turnaround. He had a total of 24 points leading into Game 4, then dropped 26 last night. And he did it in great fashion. Roll the tape. Thank you, producer Liv. Baby. So what Pajemski was able to do. Remember, Danny, we were texting last night.
Yes,
he said there were different defenses. There were zones. There were man-to-man. But he's able to relocate without the basketball. And you see his trail. He moves and he was knocking down.
Might have learned a thing or 2 from Steph.
He probably did. Best imitation. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. But Buddy Hield also had himself a day. I know he's had a lot of pressure on him from his teammates like Jimmy Butler, but he delivered. But Pajemski, defensively, he accepted the mission on both ends. Look at this against Van Vliet, who had himself a night, but he was moving, sliding those puppies. He was exceptional getting the tip behind.
Ooh, great defensive play. Real defenders do this. Stay in the play, fight through, chase down, got a little block on the end of it.
Yeah, you keep the ball active. Okay, Malika, Miss Oakland, I can't even be mad right now about my Rockets because these games have truly been the theme.
Me right now.
Look, the games are good though, but it's really been a battle of youth versus experience. But nonetheless, they're duking it out. I love
They missed 11 free throws.
Well, but
That's it.
when you're the team that ranked last in free throw percentage in the regular season, you can't be entirely surprised, right, when it comes down to crunch time.
No. Sis, I get you ranked last, but as
You
a
gotta
pro,
fix it.
as a pro, 60 plus, no.
Right. I'm just saying the
I hear
regular
you.
season, issues are showing their ugly head here in the postseason. Ime Udoka, Boozy, was asked after this game whether or not he was going to make a lineup change, and he said, we'll see. He didn't rule it off the table. We know the statistics when teams go down 3-1 in a series, so let's just focus on getting one game. Let's just focus on Game 5. What do the Rockets need to do to extend this series?
They need Jalen Green. I mean, you don't necessarily don't have to have 38 points like he did in Game 2, the game that they won in the series, but they can't be down to single digits either. He was their leading scorer this year. He's got to be somewhere in between, maybe 14, maybe 15, maybe 17 points. But he's got to give them something. Every game has come down to 1 or 2 possessions. And if he can give them a couple more buckets, maybe, like I get 15 to 17. I'm not asking for 38. But if he can give them something a little bit more than single digits, this would be a good series. It would be a 2-2 game, or maybe they even be up in this series. But he's had such a dramatic drop-off than what we're used to seeing from him in the regular season.
Okay, hear me out though, Booze. Size has worked for them. We saw some success with that double big lineup. I don't necessarily see Ime Udoka putting Steven Adams into the starting lineup here, but Jabari Smith Jr. goes in. Maybe Jalen Green comes out. Is that an adjustment that you could see happening?
I think so, and that's why I love this series. We have 2 excellent coaches in Ime Udoka and also Steve Kerr. Because when we saw Steven Adams, who has had maybe 2 games of high-level success, what happened? We saw Haka Kiwi. That's what they call
that was
it.
an all-time line.
And so what do you do when you start, he's effective getting rebounds, being that anchor that we love seeing Steven Adams be. But then now to the free throw line, that's where that vulnerability and liability comes in. All right, now you have to put him to the bench because that strategy now is working for Steve Kerr. So maybe, yes, like you said, Jabari Smith more. But big picture on the Rockets, their offense has struggled a lot this year, but they shot 47% from three yesterday. Like, they're ticking off the boxes and just might be too little.
I like the change up, but not to start the game. You can't take away Jalen Green's confidence. I'm with Booze here. He needs to be more confident. He needs to insert himself, be more aggressive. Do play Steven Adams more, insert him more until that Hackett's Kiwi comes down to. But I like that tandem with Sengun and Steven Adams, because Sengun got a lot of ISO basketball. They can't double Steven Adams stealing his guy. He's getting layups.
Right.
So they need more of that, but ultimately Jalen Green's got to step up.
And maybe if you're Ime Udoka, you give Steven Adams a chance. They try the hack of Steven Adams once or twice. If he misses the free throws, okay, then pull him out. But maybe instead of pulling him out immediately, let's see what happens. This is going to be an awesome Game 5, and I can't wait. But we have a lot to get to in H-Town, baby. Winning Game 4 by 55 points, the Cavaliers, they outscored the Heat by 122 in the 4-game sweep. That's the largest scoring differential in a series in NBA history. This is also the 11th time in Cavaliers history they swept an opponent in the playoffs. But it was the first time that they did it without LeBron James on their roster. LeBron led the way on the previous 10 sweeps that they've had. And Miami has now lost 7 straight playoff games, extending the longest losing streak in Heat postseason history. They've lost those games by a combined 190 points on an average of 27.1 points per game. That's the worst point differential in any 7-game span in NBA postseason history. Here are the Heat on looming off-season decisions.
It was humbling. This series was humbling. These last 2 games were embarrassing. But we won whatever we won. They won 65. We're as irrational as we usually are, thinking that we have a chance to win this series.
Tough, last two games for us, both 40-point, 50-point losses. Really, no excuses for it. It's embarrassing, and definitely humbling. A lot of work to be put in.
There's gonna be a lot of changes this summer. Just from my point of view, understanding how, the guy with the silver hair works.
Oof, yikes. All right, now joining us front office insider Bobby Marks. Bobby, where do the Heat stand heading into the offseason with a motivated Pat Riley, as we just heard?
Well, I'll give a little bit of positive news right now from Miami. There is a foundation in it when you look at Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, and Khalil Ware. Now here comes the hard part. How do you add a first, second, floor, and a roof without touching your foundation, right? When you look at where Miami is going into the offseason, they've got the 20th pick in the draft. If they had missed out on the playoffs, they would have had a lottery pick. They've got $65 million in potential expiring contracts. Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson. Is the picks, 2 of them in 2030 and 2032, is the picks and expiring contracts good enough to go get yourself a star player without trading Hero and Adebayo? I don't think it is, but Malika, there's a lot of work to do in Miami, and certainly these 2 losses certainly confirms that.
Yeah, leak is the word. When we were speaking, you used time and time again, Bobby, and talking about the decisions that Miami has to make here. Danny, what's the biggest change that you think the Heat need to make as they plan for this offseason?
I mean, with what Mr. Marks just said, Bobby, how you doing? Thank you.
Mr. Marks, I love it.
It's hard to find any.
You sound old, Danny Green.
You're still young, Bobby. You're still young. But what he just said is, they don't have much to give. But their best bet is to try to find a big star in the offseason. People talk about Kevin Durant. Giannis, really, they hope that Milwaukee's not going to want Terry Rozier, Davion Mitchell, or...
Is it hard, Bobby, or is it impossible?
It seems impossible, because they're going to have to give up Bam or Tyler Hero. But, Bob, you can have more information than I do. So, Bob, you let us know.
I think either player is going to be a challenge. I think they're going to probably be in the back of the line of teams that have more available. Certainly we're talking about maybe Houston as one of those teams that have young players and draft picks here. I think the big question in Miami, and this is not their DNA, would they ever use the R word, which is rebuild? I think that's something that it's very hard threading the needle. They've been a playing team consistently the last few years. Would they ever consider taking a step back, potentially taking the Oklahoma City approach, and I know that was a lot of pain doing so, and basically build this roster through maybe you get a core player back and draft picks and going in that direction here, because it's going to be hard. Basically, they're going to be where they are right now a year from now if there are no changes here. So it might have to be taking a step back and not have to go and start chasing.
Bobby, there's actually 2 R words when I think about teams evaluating after falling short of expectations. It's not only rebuild, it's also, okay, maybe if we don't go full rebuild, maybe it's a reset. Do they do a competitive reset? Because they have 2 players that are expected to be premier players in the NBA, Bam and Tyler. If you add that one piece, which by the deals, it's going to be tricky. One thing I have noticed is that they've been conservative in finding out who that person is. Interested, as you mentioned, Danny, on Dame. KD, at the trade deadline, his name came up as information like, oh, potentially could go there. Right. They've been patient, but now I think this game, I mean, at one point they were down 60 points, the most we've ever seen in playoff history. They have to look hard in the mirror and make a decision, because right now, after a performance like that, you have to reset. Right,
but it's hard thinking that they had that other piece in Jimmy Butler and it didn't totally work, right? And even Tyler Hero telling Jared Weiss at The Athletic that he knows this series, it could have been different if Jimmy Butler was there. That's why there's such hard conversations. You know what? It happens to folks at times. It happens at times. But we like to talk about the victors on this show. On the other side of this series, the Cavaliers, they were impressive in this week. Here they are on advancing to the next round.
I was telling Jalen Tyson, man, like, this is special. I was telling him, like, this is your first playoff series. This is what you're watching. It's like something that isn't normal. Like, you know what I'm saying? So for us, understanding that this is special. We've been doing special things all year, but we didn't come here just to sweep in the first round and get to the second. You know what I mean? So the goal is how can we take advantage of this rest, this break, and then be ready to go to the next round.
Here's the thing, they dominated the last 2 games and didn't even have Darius Garland. They redefined dominance in this series, but the most dangerous aspect of this Cleveland team moving forward into the second round, Bobby, is what?
Well, I mean, listen, I think when you look at it from Cleveland's perspective, I think it's their depth. I mean, I think when you look at it with Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter coming off their bench, I think that being healthy is important. The layoff now with Darius Garland, be able to kind of rest here, certainly missed the last 2 games here. And you look at the 2 teams that, they could potentially face, likely going to be Indiana. Right. They're going to be refreshed when we get to a conference semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Bobby here. Not only their depth, but their maturity. I love the approach that they're taking. Don locked in, that they're laser focused. They've shown a ton of growth with winning this series. They don't seem satisfied at all. They're ready to win and play. And to me, with how they're playing and how healthy they've been, I see them as the favorites in the East right now. Boston is struggling against the Orlando Magic. And right now, Cleveland is rolling, and they're laser focused. I love what they're doing and how mature they've been.
Interesting. So you say that they're the favorites. We know that, like you said, Boston is dealing with Knicks and Knicks. But when I'm looking at this series performance by the Cleveland Cavaliers, you outscore your opponents by 122 points. You win 2 out of the 4 games without your all-star. One of your players has won Defensive Player of the Year. You had, in the moment that you needed, your top player, Donovan Mitchell, dropped like 20 in the 4th quarter to seal the deal. Like, you check every literal box on top of being healthy. Like, this might be their time.
Yeah, it seems like they are winning in a variety of different ways, and that's the most impressive part. And the 1 seeds, they've been completely dominant during their round 1 sweeps. The Cavaliers, they win by over 30 points per game. The Thunder by almost 20 a game. It's just the second time both number 1 seeds have swept their first round series since the first round moved to a best of 7 into closeout this series.
Well, I think they're going to be really, really determined because they know that the Pistons are going to come in angry. They're going to want to come in understanding that the officiating may not go their way in light of the Pistons losing on a call that didn't go their way. They're going to kind of go in almost as if they're underdogs here to try to get a knockout punch to try to clinch a series at the Garden for the first time since '99. And I think that they're also going to go in with the thought that if they're able to keep this game close and keep it competitive the same way that they did in the first 4 games, that they're going to get to Brunson at the end of the game, where he's just been a killer in this series. He's averaged 13 points in the 4th quarter of this series, which is the most that any player has averaged in the play-by-play era in a playoff series in 4th quarters. So if they can just keep it close and really take Detroit's best punches throughout this game, I think they're going to feel confident going into the last few minutes of it.
Chris, thank you so much. This series has been an all-out brawl back and forth. It has been so much fun to watch. But I think our girl Shanae, she may have the answers to this test for the Knicks. There's no one who is better at breaking down tape than Shanae.
Roll the tape. Oh snap, this is my sister squad. I have something up my sleeve. Big Cali energy here at the Intuit Dome. We have a big cheat sheet on the Jumbotron. The biggest cheat sheet ever. Look at that finish. Turnaround 360. She has been balling. They ain't settling. Texas stays winning. Oh hey, let me talk nerdy to you. I know the Pistons fans are probably still in their feelings, so I'll be nice. Let's focus on the numbers, because if the Pistons are going to try to stave off elimination, they will need to do 3 things. First, they have to corral Big Cat. He hit 5 threes last game, so your adjustment is that you have to guard him once he crosses half court. I love this play. Brunson said, get out of the way. I'm attracting 2, 3, a crowd. Now, if you're in deny, next pass away, you have to have your arm in that passing lane. But most importantly, you got to have your hand up, not down, because he's a knockdown shooter once he crosses half court. Again, in transition, he does his damage. Your hand has to be up. You have to change and alter this vision. He is way too comfortable in these scenarios. So that's 1. How about number 2? The Pistons have to slow down his partner in crime. That's the clutch time player of the year. Wake up, wake up. Jalen Brunson just won the award. And in this series, he's showing you why. Averaging 13.3 points in the 4th quarter alone, the most in the NBA. And overall, he's dropping 33 per game overall versus Detroit. So it will take a 48-minute effort. And last but not least, Cade, you have to be a closer. Cade has been phenomenal this year, and in the postseason, the problem is you know what, you think about it, he missed his bunnies in that 4th quarter. He went 2 for 7 in that final frame. None bigger, that bunny that he missed in the final possession. Look at these plays right here. These are shots he can make in his sleep. Now the low, he's shouldering a lot, but if these shots go down, they are competitive, and maybe they won't be looking like an end-of-game possession will dictate your course in a series. So the Pistons, they will need to bring their defense and have motorcade in cruise control once again.
You're saying that the Pistons, they need to get into high gear in this one, Shanae. Sticking in the East, the Milwaukee Bucks, they face elimination tonight against the Pacers without Dame Lillard, who suffered a torn Achilles in Game 4. Milwaukee is going to need another huge effort from Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's leading the postseason in scoring with almost 34 points per game, but it hasn't been enough. The Bucks, they've won just 1 series since winning the 2021 title. They're now 1 loss away from their 3rd straight first-round loss here. As you can see right here, I mean, the window, the question is whether or not it's closing. This is just a bleak situation for the Milwaukee Bucks, but they're still alive. They still have a puncher's chance. So, Booze, what do you expect from Giannis tonight facing elimination?
Man, I expect Giannis to be who he is. The reason why we fell in love with him, he takes no possessions off. He plays every game like it's his last. This could, I'm not going to start no rumors, but this could potentially be his last game in a Bucks uniform. I expect Greek Freak to do what he always does. Go all out, try to carry that team like he's done for so many years, be aggressive, attack the basket, get to the free throw line early, be a menace on defense, rebound, block shots, and just do everything he can to extend this series, especially without Dame Lillard.
Yeah, I'm with Booze on this one. I'm expecting a 30-20 assist game type Giannis playing the point guard position. He's one of those MVP caliber players that can get you a game, and he's going to try to be the hero tonight, especially with Dame being out. So I expect him to raise his level. He's going to try to raise his teammates to that level as well. But ultimately, I don't think they have enough.
The question is a 30 and 15, 17, 19 game from Giannis enough?
What's crazy is and I've been saying this, this Malika, the last few years. Back in the past, you can have an all-NBA and
Kuz, this is what they traded for you for. You know, it's just time to step up and shine.
Trent had a 38 piece
They
in this,
need
yeah.
you to score, need you guys to win, and for Giannis to have the chance for them to win game by game, they need those guys to step up.
Kyle Kuzma is who I am watching in this game. He's had 10 made shots in this series, and he's had 10 fouls. That is not going to cut it. All right, coming up after the break, let's get to one of the best first-round series. Back to the game of the night, and the best budding romance in the NBA, Jimmy Butler and Buddy Hield here. It's today's electric moment, brought to you by Hyundai. So we're gonna take a little flashback here, because to Game 3 on Saturday, Jimmy Butler and Buddy Hield, they shined for Golden State. Hield would have 17 points on 5 of 11 shooting from beyond the arc. Here's what Hield had to say about his Game 3 performance in Butler's absence.
I know Robin was out tonight, so I had to step up. That was it. I had to be in Alfred tonight.
Buddy is not in this. Buddy's a joker or something. He's the evil man.
Well, Robin and Alfred, they would come up big down the stretch of Game 4 here. Here, Hield to Butler, inside for the alley-oop finish.
What I feel like I'm watching is Sensei and Jimmy and the Apprentice and Buddy in real time.
Well, today is National Superhero Day.
Because he's trying to bring out that like basketball IQ, the awareness on both ends. Man.
Big shot, Buddy.
Steph Curry finding Hield for the 3 there, and then 11 seconds left. The Warriors up by 1. Alperinton Rune drives, that little baby hook.
The Player of the Year finalist.
Misses, and look who flies in for the rebound. It's Butler. Huge rebound here. Let's take a listen to Jimmy after this win.
I die for these guys, bro. It's so fun. I got my joy back, as some would say. But more than anything, it's always good to win. Where you go, man? Go back there. What are you going to do? Nothing on national TV. I hate to give Buddy a compliment, so I'm not going to. But number 7 on our team really brought the defensive mentality tonight, made some big shots. And he stinks. I just got to add that too.
It pained him to say, but after the game, he posted, felt nice, might take down later. 11 hours later, though, it's still up.
Okay.
So we're making some progress here. The Warriors take a 3-1 lead over Houston, and now taking a look at the rest of the first round here. Of the 6 remaining first round series, all of them are 3-1, except for 1.
8 seconds to go in regulation. It's Jokic. Zubac is on him.
They've been mostly close. 3 of the 4 games have been decided by 3 or fewer points, including 1 in overtime. The outlier being the one that I drove all the way out to watch. That's when the Clippers had a 34-point victory in Game 3. But all kidding aside, this series has been absolutely excellent. We talked about this having the potential to be a long series, and it's living up to that billing. Danny, I want to start with you here. Bouncing back on your home floor, fighting all the way back from down 20 heading into the 4th quarter, to be able to have a shot to win it, and then that Aaron Gordon shot happens. How do you bounce back going on the road?
I mean, you have to have some veteran, presence in that locker room. You have to have some leadership, the coaching staff. Maybe that guy can help too. The last, the Terminator, he can help. But I'm looking for James Harden to step up in this Game 5. This is the series where he can turn around, turn his image, that whatever you guys talking about him, in the name, whatever they talking about, how he disappears in the series.
Guys,
the media world talks about. So I'm looking for James to come in and set the tone and actually step up and be a presence in these last 3 or 4 these 3 games they have left. So, but for them, they have to have some mentality of letting that last game go. Obviously, it's not the finals where I've had some tough losses or big shots, so I know what that's like. I don't want to speak about it, but this one they can bounce back from, I think, easily. They've been up. The last 2 games are up, or they were down 20. I'm okay. But Clippers are a really good team. They have some good vets there, but it starts with Kawhi, and I think it ends with James.
You got some rings, man. You did it.
I've been
the magic happened. I literally thought, I was like, oh, this is the moment. The comeback is here. Norm Powell, you saw how he was shooting the ball, how they were finding him, knocking down threes. But then, what was it? The Mile High Matinee, the Gordon, the alley-oops. All of that made an appearance. I think that they have to realize that they have to be the aggressors. They can't get in a hole. Kawhi has to show up. And the role players are now walking in confidently knowing that they have to handle it business.
They are favored in this one, Booze, but if this is Jokic back on his home floor, going on the road after a loss like that, what do you need to see from Kawhi?
Yeah, I mean, this comes down to Kawhi Leonard and Nikola Jokic. These are the two best players in the series. Nikola Jokic is averaging 29 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists. Then you got Kawhi playing like old school playoff Kawhi. We're so used to seeing him get down like this. He's locking up defensively, doing a great job on Michael Porter Jr. He's hitting big shots. He obviously had the huge explosion, but whoever imposes their will the best in this game, your team will take a huge advantage and get a chance to win this series. Obviously, you get a leg up, you go up 3-2, but it comes down to those two stars to me.
Danny, you played with Kawhi Leonard. You won a championship with Kawhi Leonard. What makes him different at this time of year? Because this is the best that he has looked this far into the year.
He's just so efficient.
Yeah.
You know, he's so even keeled. He can keep your locker room at, very poised. And not only Boo's saying win the series, but they could win they can win a championship when he's playing this type of basketball. There's nobody better at the two-way player in the game than Kawhi Leonard when he's this focused and this healthy. So he can also score, but also defensively he could change the game. He can get stops, he can get steals, he can block shots, make the right reads on offense. He can do a multitude of things that help your team, lift your team to winning a championship or being a championship caliber team.
And if you're looking at these numbers, it's almost like in some ways when they're playing their best, could they potentially neutralize each other? When you're going star for star and then role player for role player, you're seeing most people have different games and stepping up. To me, it comes down to the side.
What's your favorite team? Comment below, and if you like the video, please leave a like. This really helps the channel grow and brings you even more content. Oh, and if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button and activate the bell to receive all notifications. With each game, we notice that the NBA is getting more competitive every day, and all the teams are looking for reinforcements to win the championship. And only here can you follow your favorite team daily with incredible content from different sources. Here on the channel, there are new videos every day with analysis, curiosities, and the best moments in basketball. That's it for today, folks. Thanks for following along. The NBA doesn't stop, and neither do we. Until the next video. NBA, the passion that connects us.